Why doesn't God explicitly forbid polygamy, but instead we have verses like Exodus 29:10 that if a man takes a second wife, he must not deprive the first wife of food, clothing, or marital rights, and a few others that seems like, you know, it's okay, and if it happens, then do this. Like, doesn't seem like it's forbidden,
Right.
or it's a sin.
How many husbands do you want, Jael?
I have one, and I'll stick with one.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so the way I would approach that question is that Craig has already alluded to the fact that this law God has given to his people in some ways parallels the other law codes given to different people in these ancient Near Eastern societies, and in some ways aligns with societal norms and in some ways pushes back. And so within this era, it was normative for people and for men to have multiple wives. And so here is where I would say is an instance of the law not reflecting God's highest ideal for his people, but rather his minimum tolerance. And so for this era of salvation history, he is going to tolerate men having multiple wives. But what he will not tolerate is a man taking a second wife and neglecting the first. And we see once we get to the New Testament, Jesus elevating the laws in some ways. And so while the Old Testament permitted a man to divorce his wife for a variety of reasons, Jesus says only in the instance of adultery. And so here we see Jesus elevating the standard. And while he doesn't speak to polygamy in the exact same way, I think that the same principle can be applied there as well.
I think that's an excellent answer. The only thing I would add is we have to be very careful to read any passage in Old or New Testament and say, is this passage a command to a certain practice? Or is it simply describing how to behave within a practice that is already existing in society? The passage you read says nothing about is it good or bad to have multiple wives. It simply says, well, we know some people have two or more. If that's the situation you're in, here is how to live in a humane way. And sometimes people say, oh, the Old Testament commanded slavery. Actually, no. Look up every verse that says anything about slaves, and it's about how you treat them. It assumes that it's a practice that existed in society. It's not commanding anybody to do it ever. But if it's there, can we at least begin to redeem some of the practice leading toward, as Jael said, the day when it will be abolished altogether?